as to what their ideology is, what their ultimate goals and intentions are, why can we not embrace and delist the MEK when we know what their ambitions and their goals and what they speak to? Number two, to be listed as a terrorist organization, it must be established that the organization poses a real terrorist threat to this country and its citizens. To the contrary, the MEK has worked in support of our efforts to combat terrorism and the malignant government in Iran. We all know what they've done. Much of the information and intelligence that we've learned about the radical Islam in that region, much of the information we have about their nuclear capabilities and their buildup has come from the MEK. There has been no evidence to the contrary. There's been no evidence to suggest that their interests, their goals, and their ambitions are bringing terrorist activity directed toward this country and our citizens. So basically, the reason you would delist the MEK is because the law requires you to do so. If that's what the law says, there's no evidence to the contrary, if there's no evidence supporting it, then the law, as a nation of laws, the rule of law, dictates to our president that they be delisted. If President Obama is committed to supporting democratic opposition in the Middle East and North Africa, if President Obama is committed to, and hopefully, and he certainly is, reducing and then eliminating the threats and instability supported by the terrorist state of Iran, and if President Obama believes America's credibility is at stake, we did make a promise and we should keep it, and that our word is our bond, not just with the residents of Camp Ashraf, but the world generally, and that the law must be followed, and the President should lift the designation of the MEK as a terrorist organization because it is in America's best interest to do so.
Thank you, Professor Tanter. To my distinguished group of colleagues, I want to say it's an honor for me to join all of you once again on this important human rights issue. I personally believe the reason MEK is still listed as a terrorist organization is that our policy in the past has been one of appeasement. Please, we know you're our enemy. We know you're contrary to everything we stand for. But if you'll just make a few less IEDs, kill a few less American soldiers, we'll list your main opponent, the MEK, as a terrorist organization. But here's the problem with that. They're not stopping. They're not honoring their agreement. And they're still out there manufacturing IEDs right as we speak to ship and export throughout the Middle East to kill Americans. MEK is the biggest threat to the Iranian mullahs. If the Iranian mullahs are manufacturing at their orders and through their exporting systematic destabilization, systematic support for sponsor of terrorism, systematic fundamentalism, and the weapons of that war, they're exporting IEDs. It seems to me we want to be on the side of the people who want to stop them. These IEDs, which are manufactured and exported by Iran. But we also want to support something different. Because, you know, you hear a lot about the Arab Spring, and people say, well, if we oppose the current dictatorships, who's going to take their place? Is it going to be a fundamentalist regime? You know, because we've got these secular dictators who are oppressing their people, but the alternative is we may get fundamentalist dictators who are oppressing their people. We've got both in Iran. So it really isn't an alternative, frankly, because we've already got the worst of the worst of the worst in Iran. I mean, we can't get worse. So what's our option? Actually, we've got really good option. It's an organization that is well organized, politically democratic, has an ability to step in, and you all know the worry that once we topple, quote, these dictatorships, who's going to step in? How's the country going to be run? Is it going to be based upon a fundamental system of democracy? We already had that promised by the PMOI. I just want to conclude with this, and that is, we all know that the galvanizing force ultimately in the regime change in Iran is going to be the people who are on the front line. And I want to thank all of you for being there on the front line, for your family members who are on the real front line. And those are the people in Camp Ashraf. Because the fight for a new Iran is being waged through the people of Camp Ashraf. They're the ones who are bringing international attention to the struggle for freedom in Iran. So we must never forget the people of Camp Ashraf. Promised protection by the United States through international law, that we not break that promise with them. And let me say to you, when the Iraqi government thinks that they can attack Camp Ashraf with impunity, when they are in power today as a direct result of the United States military and the United States government and the United States taxpayer, any lack of connection between the fundamentalists who are in charge in Iran and what's going on in Syria today, or anywhere else in the Middle East, is missing the most important linkage to the ultimate success of the Arab Spring, which will be cutting off the supplier of fundamentalism in the Middle East, cutting off the supplier of terrorism in the Middle East, cutting off the money flow to all those who are oppressing people in the Middle East, and that's the Iranian government. Let's replace the Iranian government, and then you'll give Arab Spring a chance to bloom.
This is an awful time, and this is a dangerous time. It's awful because we have 35 dead and over 350 wounded, and it could have been avoided. Iran is a renowned terror-based country. It has a well-known rocket and missile delivery system and will soon have an illegal and inconceivable nuclear capability. Elimination of Camp Ashraf started, first attempted 29 July 2009, and it has been continuously squeezed till late April 2011. Terrorist list has brought the United States and the Iran government onto the same team. It is confusing to ourselves, to the world, and to our friends how Iran and the United States can be on the same side. This terror listing must be stopped. Secretary of State Clinton can take the MEK off the list immediately and stop all of Iraq's justification to attack Camp Ashraf. With great shrewdness, the Iraqi government planned and conducted those two attacks on Camp Ashraf while the Secretary of Defense, Secretary Gates, was in Iraq. How embarrassing it must have been for Secretary Gates. There were U.S. troops in Camp Ashraf until ordered out several hours before the attack. Afterwards, Iraq refused them to come back in,